Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Yashodanandana Gopinda Gopijana Vallada Jaya Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jaya Braja Janaranjana. Jaya Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari. 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 Jaya Radha Madhava 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 Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jai Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada described this song as windows to the spiritual world. Through this song, we can get a glimpse of the pastimes of the Supreme Lord with his devotees. It's very sweet. So Srila Prabhupada very much enjoyed singing this song. So we're continuing our study of the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 24, entitled The Renunciation of Kardama Muni. And today's verse is shloka number 9. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tat Kardarma Shramapadam Sarasvatya Parishritam Swayambhu Sakam Rishibhir Marichadibir Abhyayat Tat Kardama Shramapadam Sarasvatya Parishritam Swayambhu Sakam Rishibhir Marichadibir Abhyayat Tad Kardama Shramapadam Sarasvatya Parishritam Swayambhu Sakam Rishibhir Marichadibir Abhyayat. Tat, that. Kardama, of Kardama. Ashramapadam, to the place of the hermitage. Sarasvatya, by the river Saraswati. Parishritam, surrounded. Swayambhu, Brahma, the self-born. Sakam, along with. Rishibhi, the sages. Marichi, the great sage Marichi. Adibhi, and others. Abhyayat, he came there. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Brahma, the firstborn living being, went along with Marichi and other sages to the place of Kardama's hermitage which was surrounded by the river Saraswati. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Brahma is called Svayambhu because he is not born of any material father and mother. He is the first living creature and is born from the lotus, which grows from the abdomen of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Garbhodakshayi Vishnu. Therefore, he is called Svayambhu, self-born. So here in this chapter 24, we're getting a look into how the universe is populated by different living entities. So previously we read that the Gandharvas and the Apsaras, they were dancing and singing in ecstasy. And why they were singing and dancing in ecstasy? Because that's normally what you do to glorify the Lord. When the Lord appears, everyone's celebrating that appearance. And we also learn from other pages of the Bhagavatam that there are various living entities in different planetary systems. So yesterday we commented that about SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. So our so-called scientists have not yet discovered anything. But here in the Bhagavatam, it's given a much, much more complete description. Not only complete, but in-depth, detailed description, not only of the types of living entities, but their qualities. For example, in Gandharva Loka, where the Gandharvas are, they're very expert at music. And the Apsaras, they're very beautiful, extremely beautiful, gracious. They dance beautifully. So we may think here on planet Earth that, we have some good qualities of singing or of beauty. And Prabhupada once remarked that the beauty of the women on this planet compared to the beauty of the Apsaras is like here they look like frogs in comparison. That's how beautiful the Apsaras are. And we sing like frogs compared to the way the Gandharvas sing. And yet we become puffed up. We're thinking we have so many wonderful qualities. So here, the topmost living entity from Brahmaloka, who's accepted by all the other living entities in the universe as being the most worthy, most respectful, Lord Brahma, he has now come to Kardama Muni's ashram because a child has been born, and this is Kapila Muni, personality of Godhead. We, even at the time of Lord Jesus, when he was born, 3 great wise men from the East appeared there. Now, I don't think they ever tell you in the church how these wise men from the East knew. They knew that there was a birth. They knew where to come. They bore gifts. It was another celebration. It doesn't say they were singing and dancing. It seemed to be more of a solemn affair. But at any rate, in the East and east of Israel, we're talking about India, they knew these things. They said that they followed a star. So maybe people think that there was a star and they just followed it in the sky, like you follow a bus. But actually, they followed the star means they followed the astrological understanding. A great personality is going to take birth, a pure devotee of the Lord. And so they made their calculations. Oh, it's going to be in this place. We better go. and it's going to be at such and such a time, such and such a place. That's real astrology. When you can do that, you've understood the meaning of the stars. But that's not mentioned, in the church, how they understood these things. Just that they followed a star. That's all you get. You don't even explain what it means to follow a star. So Lord Brahma, also, he understood, you can imagine his intelligence and his consciousness, that he understood that, okay, far away in this ashram of Kardama Muni and Devahuti, the Supreme Lord is going to appear. So he also went there, along with other great sages with mystic powers. So Marichi is one of them. He is named time and time again, Marichi. We see him mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. So he's a well-known, recognized great sage, as is Lord Brahma. And then other sages, they also came to the ashram of Kardama Muni and Devahuti. And it's interesting, it says it was surrounded by the river Saraswati. Nowadays, there is no river Saraswati because it has dried up. But you can see a dry riverbed that flows from the Himalayas into the Arabian Sea, which previously was the Saraswati River, a very prominent river where great cultures lived, great cities thrived on the banks of this river Saraswati. Now it's dried up. It was predicted that in Kali Yuga it would dry up, and it's also predicted that the Ganga will dry up. And we see that the Ganga is slowly receding, getting lower and lower, and eventually she'll go underground also. So what they say is that the Saraswati hasn't disappeared, it's just gone lower and lower, and now it's flowing underground. So at a famous place near Allahabad called the Triveni Sangam, there is the confluence of three rivers, the Jamuna, the Ganga, and the Saraswati. But the Saraswati is under the ground. We don't see the Saraswati. We only see two rivers. So this is called Prayag, very famous place. So Prabhupada explains in the purport that Brahma's name is Svayambhu because Svayambhu means self-born. So this refers to the creation of the universe. So when Sri Krishna wanted to begin everything, Anadi, he's beginningless, but Anadi Adi Govinda, when he wanted to begin everything as Govinda, then Sarva Karana Karanam, he began to cause all other causes. He was the prime cause. And he expands himself into many different expansions. First is Balaram, and then Balaram expands himself into the Chaturvyuha, which is Sankarshan, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, and Vasudev. So, and then we come down, the Chaturvyuha expands and expands and expands into Karanadakshayi Vishnu, or as we know him, Mahavishnu. And Mahavishnu is lying on the causal ocean. And he's being served very lovingly by Sri Lakshmiji. And then he glances at Durga Devi and impregnates her with living entities. And then different Brahmandas, different universes, which are like bubbles on the cosmic ocean, come into being. And then this Mahavishnu expands himself into each and every universe as Garbhodakshayi Vishnu. And as he lies down in each one of these universes, it's hot. There's heat there. So he perspires, and from this perspiration becomes water, known as the Garbhodak ocean. And from that Garbhodakshayi Vishnu lying on this ocean within each universe, so he lies on the causal ocean external to all universes, then he expands himself and lies in another ocean within each particular universe. And then from his navel sprouts a lotus flower. And from that lotus flower appears Lord Brahma. So as Prabhupada explains here, he's not born of any material father or mother. He's not born of any material, anything material. It's all mystical, spiritual energy, self-born, just manifested by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he is the first living creature. When Prabhupada says he's the first living creature, what he means is the first living creature in this universe. Clearly, Mahavishnu and Krishna and all the expansions are living, but they're spiritual, completely spiritual. They're not within the universe, the material creation. So therefore, he takes birth from that lotus which grows from the abdomen of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Garbhodakshayi Vishnu. Therefore, he is called Svayambhu, self-born. So this whole narration is being told to Vidura by Maitreya. So how did that happen? Well, Lord Krishna was ready to wind up his activities on this planet. Battle of Kurukshetra is over. Maharaj Yudhisthira is installed as the emperor of the earth. And Krishna sees that everything, the Dharma is now again in ascendancy because Adharma was there. So he came Paritranaya sadhunam, to protect the devotees, vinashaya cha duskritam, to annihilate the miscreants, and dharma samstapakam, to re-establish dharma. So now this had all been accomplished. Kamsa had been killed. He was the first demon in the beginning when Krishna first appeared. And then all the other demons, the Kauravas, etc. So Krishna now is going to leave, and before he leaves, he spends time with Uddhava. Uddhava is very dear to Krishna. You know, Arjuna is very dear to Krishna, and Uddhava is also very dear, and some commentators say that Uddhava is even more dear to Krishna than Arjuna. So he spends time with Uddhava, and he explains to Uddhava what's known as the Uddhava Gita. He gives instructions to Uddhava, just like he gave instructions to Arjuna, which we call Bhagavad Gita. And he gives higher set or more profound instructions to Uddhava, which we call the Uddhava Gita. This is in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And then he departs. Uddhava is completely heartbroken. Imagine it, someone that you love so dearly, your best ever friend. Now he's gone and you're left without him. But he's given him an instruction. He explained to him the Uddhava Gita, and he says, now you go to Badrik Ashram, go high up in the Himalayas. There are rishis there, Nara Narayan Rishi and other rishis, and you share with them this knowledge that I just gave to you. So Uddhava, he knows what he has to do, so he starts heading north. So as he heads north, he comes through, what do you call it? What's the name? Hastinapur. And Uddhava, you know, he's very well known as a great devotee of the Lord. So Vidura, who's in Hastinapur, realizes, I got to go see Uddhava. So he goes to Uddhava and he says, you know, you were the last one to see the Lord. You were very, very dear to him. He's given you instructions. You know certain leelas and pastimes of his that no one else knows. You know, here I have come now. I'm surrendered at your lotus feet. You please instruct me. I just want to hear the nectar. I'm not interested in anything else. This is the mood of a Vaishnava. And Uddhava says, you know, actually, I'm very moved and touched by your mood, and I would love to fulfill your request, but unfortunately, I'm so heartbroken that I don't think I could properly retell everything that the Lord told me. Not only that, but he requested me to go to Badrik Ashram. So I'm on my way there up to the Himalayas, and I have to gather my thoughts and my emotions so that I can relay this information directly to the rishis there, who I was given the direct instruction to relate that to them. But I don't want to disappoint you, but if you go to Maitreya Muni, who's a great, great devotee of the Lord and an amazing rishi, even though he wasn't physically there when Krishna imparted those to me, by his mystic power he appeared there and he heard everything. So Uddhava knew that Maitreya, had tuned in, just like you tune in on, Channel 7 to get the news, So Maitreya Muni had tuned in and heard everything that Krishna had spoken to Uddhava. So he says to Vidura, you go to Maitreya Muni. He knows everything that I know. He can guide you. So he blesses Vidura, and Vidura goes to seek out the ashram of Maitreya Muni. And then he falls at his lotus feet and begs for his mercy. Please, all I want is to hear the pastimes of Lord Krishna. I have so many questions, so many doubts, so many things that need clarification. Uddhava told me, you know everything, you heard everything. Please shower your mercy upon me so I can hear the nectar and you can answer my questions. So this is what's happening. Maitreya Muni is explaining all this, and now he's speaking about how the Lord appeared to his devotees, Kardama Muni and Devahuti. So he's explaining all these things and he's answering all the questions of Vidura. So this Bhagavatam has many different layers. It's not what we call just a literal, a linear description like most books, This is layer upon layer. This person told this person, he heard it from him, and he recited it here in Naimisharanya, and someone else heard it, in another place. And, so we get the idea that this knowledge is being transmitted from place to place, rishi to rishi, from time to time, throughout recorded history. This is recorded history. The Western idea of recorded history is like goes back only 5,000 years, if that, But here we have recorded history going back millions of years. So this is the Srimad Bhagavatam, and this is just a brief overview. So I think that's basically the sum and substance of this sloka. Are there any questions?
I have a question regarding yesterday's lecture. You said that we are conditioned to work and all that, but how can we sustain our lives if we don't work for some company or something?
Well, you have to work. Even Krishna explains to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita that everyone has to work to sustain themselves, and even I have to do that. Even I have to go to such great lengths to arrange this and that, to get, bring about the battle of Kurukshetra, to kill the demons, to reestablish Dharma. So, I also have to work. Everybody has to work. But the issue is who you're going to work for. What is your consciousness? What is your mood? So you have to work, but what is your consciousness? So let me explain to you. Because right now you're thinking, I'm working for a company, this is Maya, I'm wasting my time. I'd much rather be a full-time devotee, 100%, and not have to do this stuff. Maybe you're thinking like that. But I need to support myself, by the funding that comes in to pay the bills. So you don't have to change what you're doing, you just have to change your consciousness. So instead of thinking that this is a horrible job, this is karma, I hate to do it, I'm only doing it for the money, instead you change your consciousness and say, my dear Lord Krishna, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to have a job whereby money can come in so I can maintain my household. And you do that job for that company as devotional service to Krishna. Now, how do we know it's devotional service to Krishna? Well, as Prabhupada explained, palena parichiyate, you judge by the result. So what is the result? The result of your work is the money that you get. Now, I don't know how much money you get, but that's to make it easy. Let's say you get 1,000 euros, and you work, let's say 50 hours a week, just to make it easy to calculate. That means that for each hour, you're getting 20 euros. So every hour that you work in the consciousness of Krishna, you get 20 euros. Now, how you spend that 20 euros? If you spend that 20 euros of each hour for the service of the Lord, the service of the Vaishnavas, then that hour went for the service of the Lord, because the result went for the service of the Lord. Now, if you got that 20 euros and you spent it on sense gratification, then that 1 hour went for sense gratification. So all the money that comes in, if you do 100% of your money, goes for the devotees, for Krishna, for the temple, for spreading the mission, for buying clothes because you have to wear certain clothing in the temple, for buying bhoga because you have to serve the Lord by offering prasad. So all the different things, when 100% of the money goes for the service of the Lord, it means 100% of your hours was devotional service. Even though you're at the company and there's not a single Vaishnava in sight, but you judge by the result. What is the result? So all you have to do is tweak your consciousness that this is devotional service, because all the results are going to the service of the mission. Maybe it's only 50% goes to the service of the mission, but that's better, that's pretty good, better than 0. And you can increase to 60%, 80%, 100%. And let's say you want to go, for some enjoyment. Maybe you want to go on a big holiday, vacation to some place. So instead of thinking that it's Maya, think that now I'm going to see this beautiful place. Where do you usually go? Let's say somewhere in Italy. And you say, this is so beautiful. This is the creation of the Lord. Thank you for allowing me to come here. And you appreciate everything. And when you eat, you offer everything to the Lord. So wherever you go, whatever you do, you still do everything in full consciousness of the Lord. Then it's all devotional service. It doesn't have to be Maya. It doesn't have to be sense gratification if you tweak your consciousness and see things in relationship to service, and relationship to Krishna, and relationship to Krishna's energy, and relationship to how you're utilizing that energy to push on his mission. And even if you're only utilizing it to push on your own Krishna consciousness, I need this because I need a break, I need time to think, to chant better, to study, more time for studying. So everything you do, if it's related to Krishna, is devotional service. So that's a whole different perspective, right? So you don't see everything as Maya, just as we read yesterday, Daivi Yesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya, Krishna says, the Bhagavad Gita. You weren't here yesterday for the Bhagavad Gita class. But I explained, was it yesterday I did that verse? Yeah. I explained that from Krishna's perspective, he sees the world that we call Maya, he sees it as his divine energy. So you can also see the earth and everything in it as Krishna's divine energy also, as he sees it. Instead of seeing it as Maya, to see it as Krishna's divine energy. And I explained that Krishna has, just like us, we have a front and a back. So the front is Krishna's spiritual energy and the back is his material energy. But they're just different sides of the same coin. So from Krishna's perspective, it's all spiritual energy, all divine energy, because it's coming from him. So we should see Krishna's back and Krishna's front as both spiritual. So the material energy and the spiritual energy, they're both coming from Krishna, so they're both divine. Is that helpful? Can you start thinking like that now? Well, write it down. And then read it every morning. So before you go to work, it's fresh in your mind. Try to see it in a spiritual way. So let's say you're writing some code. So don't see that I'm writing code. Just think, okay, this hour where I'm doing this code writing, for the money that I get for that hour, I'm going to use to buy, the most wonderful fruits and vegetables to cook and prepare and offer to the Lord. And then I'll take the remnants. So it's just how you see everything, that's all. It's just how your consciousness is, because this is the International Society for Krishna what? Consciousness. So we have to develop that Krishna consciousness. That's the art. That's the science. Any other points? Yes? Okay, you'd like to change, but you cannot. The reason you cannot is because you say to yourself, you cannot. You're brainwashing and conditioning yourselves in a negative way. If you start saying, I can, then you change the whole equation, the whole formula changes. And you can also pray to Krishna to help me so that I will be able to. Then I really can because Krishna is helping me. And now that's one point. The second point is that you're in anxiety every time because you want to do something perfect. But it's not possible to do anything perfect. Everything in this material world has some fault, as Krishna describes in Bhagavad Gita, just as with every fire there's also smoke. So don't be concerned whether I'm doing the service perfectly or imperfectly. Be concerned, am I doing this service with devotion or no devotion? Because if you do it with love and devotion, even if you do it 100% wrong, Krishna will accept it and make it perfect. And the example in this case is Vidura's wife. So we spoke about Vidura earlier. He was living in Hastinapur, and Krishna would come to Hastinapur to see the Kauravas and the Pandavas. So one time Krishna came and he was in the palace of Duryodhana, and Duryodhana wanted to gain Krishna's favor, so he invited him for lunch. And he said, you know, I have the best cooks, we have the best vegetables, we have the best of everything, we serve on gold plates, I invite you for lunch, you please take your lunch with us. And Krishna replied, thank you very much. Of course, Krishna could understand what his mentality was. Trying to bribe him. So Krishna said, thank you very much. I would love to come to have lunch with you, but unfortunately I'm not hungry. And it's not healthy to eat when you're not hungry. So can we postpone it for another time? So Duryodhana said, oh yeah, we can do it another time. Meanwhile, Vidura had also come there to see Krishna. So he was so happy to see Krishna. So when they were talking, he had invited Krishna also to come to his house for lunch. And Krishna says, oh, thank you so much, I'm starving. So, what time? So then they arranged the time, and Vidura was very happy. So he rushed home to his wife, and he explained, Krishna's coming, let's make a really nice lunch for him. I got a few things I got to do. Let me just go out, do these things, and I'll come back as soon as I can. But if for some reason Krishna comes early, you just give him a nice seat and take care of him, tell him I'll be right back. So she says, okay. So he leaves, Vidura leaves to do these things quickly, and Krishna comes early. Knocks on the door. She opens it up. It's Krishna. As soon as she sees Krishna, she's in ecstasy. So she offers him a seat and brings some water. And she had some fruit there, so she wanted to offer him a banana. So she took the banana and she peeled it. And she approached him. She was so struck by his beauty and everything that by mistake she offered the peel instead of the banana. But she offered it with such devotion, with tears in her eyes, that Krishna accepted it, said, oh, thank you so much, because he accepts the devotion. That's what he sees. And he started to eat the peel. At that moment, Vidura came home and he sees his wife holding the banana and Krishna eating the peel. So he gets very angry and he's very upset. He says, what are you doing? You offer Krishna the peel? And she was like in so much stress and anxiety at that point. She hadn't realized because she was in the ecstasy of just doing service. And Krishna said, no, 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 it's all right, it's all right. She offered me this with so much love that this peel is even more tasty than any banana could ever be because it was imbued with her devotion. So that's the mood that we should be doing things with for Krishna. So it's not right or wrong. It's how much devotion is there. It's not perfect or imperfect. It's always going to be imperfect anyway, so we don't have to worry about this. But how much devotion am I offering with my service? Am I doing it with devotion? Am I thinking of Krishna? And how am I thinking of Krishna? So that should be our consciousness. Okay? Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.